Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Sam, and as ever you are listening to Geliteracy, where promptly, I expect, we'll be reading some more of the Nightland. Ooh. I just looked over at OBS and saw maybe we won't, or the bars dropped down into the red. Why would Twitch be like this tonight? I've been streaming on the John's channel this week, and it's been rock solid, but now... Smallcock, hello, welcome. Thank you for the 19 months, damn. A lot of months. It's good to see you. Well, maybe I'll give it a bit. I mean, I wasn't, it's not like I've got the book in hand, as I would say if I was some kind of business executive, before a court. You know, wasn't exactly planning to jump straight into the pages, but, interestingly, I don't know why. Because I see I've dropped a few frames. Hang on, I'm going to check some stats. Hubris, hello, welcome in. Docs and stats. Frames missed due to rendering lag. None. What about that? Drop frames network. Is Twitch on the wonk tonight? Is that what we're doing? Sounds okay here, at least you didn't notice anything. Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't get the viewer experience. It's literally, I noticed when I'd started the stream, I dropped a few frames, which sometimes happens. And then, again, when I swapped over to this scene, it seems to kill it as well. So, as ever, it's just that case of, is there something on my end that has changed or should have changed and hasn't, and so now it's all broken, or is this Twitch's fault? And it is very difficult to know. But, yeah, hello, hi, welcome in. It's been a minute since I've done this. I've had various problems and issues, and hey, why not? Why not start the stream with some more? But hopefully we'll get some book done tonight. Although, one, we're not even going to make it through an entire chapter because the next chapter is hella long, yo. It's like 60 pages or something, which is that's so much chapter. You've just written a short story in the middle of your book, my guy. So we're gonna have to make our way through that, but not all in one. So I've tried my best to break it up into break points at which we can stop for a break, and another point at which we can end that doesn't feel like it's still in the middle of a chapter, and it will, but you know, such is life in the zone. Lady Mephistopheles, thank you for the 40 months. Books, indeed. Multiple books, but in this case, just one. Yeah, how are you? How are you all? I'm tired, actually. I don't fully know why. I partly know why I've been having a bit of a struggle with anxiety this week. Don't look at the results of the local elections from the UK this week. They sucked. But that's contributed slightly to a bit of a spike in anxiety. But yeah, it's just being a pain at the moment. So that's fun while it's around, and I feel like I've just been losing sleep, even though I try my best to get plenty of it and probably get more than I should. But yeah, so I know we're going to see how we go tonight, basically. This could even be one where I just get halfway through and go, no, you know what, I'm dropping off. But I'm determined to give you some kind of story tonight, some bit of reading. The chapter for which is, if you're watching on Twitch, live, pinned at the top of chat, and if you are reading along, watching along, listening along on YouTube, firstly, thank you. It's been nice, just sort of putting stuff on YouTube, and honestly, we don't we don't really do much with it. We're not in that, like, we're not trying to promote the YouTube channel and seek engagement and do all sorts, do the whole YouTube promotion game, but just sort of watching it grow and tick along has been nice. Having somewhere to point people to when they go, wait, you have a cozy bedtime story reading channel? That sounds wonderful. And I'm like, yep, here's the YouTube. It's nice. And so if you're listening from YouTube, thank you. We appreciate it. Greetings from Oxford. Hello, Perola. Yeah, welcome to the UK. Again. I hope Oxford treats you well, and I hope the show is a good time. I'm assuming you're going to multiple shows. I hope that they are good and that you enjoy them. I know that I've not seen the production for this year, but I know that the plan was to just up the production a little bit, just make it a bit of a fancier show and make everyone feel like you got your money's worth from the show that you went to. And so I do hope that's the case, because I know that they're trying. And yeah, I hope you're looking forward to it. I expect you are. Llama, hello. Welcome in. Hey, and hello to Foxia and Sherlock Holmes. I also hope they're well. I hope everyone's well. Yeah, do I have anything else to talk about? I feel like I should. It's been multiple weeks. Oxford provided a whole family of grey squirrels for you and Yasmin to see today. Hell yeah. That's great. Every now and then I see a squirrel run along a wall that I can see outside my window, and if I will literally just stop mid-conversation to point out that I've seen a squirrel and watch it. That's, you know, basically I'm a walking up dog reference. Going to a lot of gigs. First one on Monday. Nice. Oh yeah, Monday is Liverpool, I believe. That's a bit of a trek from Oxford. Damn. Have a nice time. It'd be good. Yeah. I'm just saying a lot. Anyone else? Anyone got anything you want to talk about? Or shall I just get on with the book? Make with the reading book guy. Yeah, I don't know. What have I been watching stuff? No. I've been reading things, other things. No. You don't want to hear me talk about marathon, because that's the main thing I've been doing with some free time. That or playing Slay the Spire 2 when I don't feel like playing multiplayer games. Thought a friend of yours was going, but you didn't get the day off, so you'll be on your own. Oh, okay. Well, you know, obviously you know by now you'll be amongst friends anyway. They're just friends you haven't met yet. So, yeah, I hope you have a good time. Don't want to go back to work on Monday? No, that sucks. I'm sorry. Yeah. But those that are somehow unaware, I've been started streaming Max Payne 1 over on the Longest John's channel, which has been really fun, and I'm getting through it way faster than I expected. Game is brutal and unforgiving, and I'm kind of looking forward to finishing it, so I feel like the quality drastically improves after the first one. We're not playing Max Payne 3, if anyone's wondering, but 2 and then all of the other Remedy games, I'm much more looking forward to the rest of them. I think even up as far as Control, Remedy still have some design problems with how they do, particularly boss fights, where it's just, this guy's got a lot of health and you have to shoot it a bunch and your health evaporates as soon as they shoot you. Like, that's just how they make games, and we have to accept that. But other than that, they've got a great catalogue of games, and I'm looking forward to it. You'll be fine, at least you know the band a bit. Well, that is also true, yeah. I was actually, just before going live, adjusting the octopus. Squid? Octopus or squid? You have to correct me. That's hanging on my mic stand, because I realised that the eyes are facing me, and it's probably, because when the camera's on for the other streams, probably better if it's facing the camera, so that it's looking at chat, rather than looking at me. I'm just rambling. Octopus only 8 legs? Yeah, of course. That's... Yeah, 8 legs, no beak. Wait, do squids have beaks? Oh, I don't know. My... You know, aquatic... No, you know what? I feel like any sentence that has the word anatomy in it is now... You just got to be careful around those things, because someone's going to think, haha, you're being dirty. No, I'm just... yeah, whatever. I'm bad at identifying octopi and squids. Andy Pants, thank you for the 44 months. Hello, welcome. Yeah, I don't know. I've got nothing else to say. We had film night last week instead of this. Yeah, speaking of things to be careful around, I think, yeah, I was shocked to be reminded, just kind of, I shouldn't have been, because we watched The Wicker Man, and of course it's a film about, like, basically old folk horror fertility rituals up in a remote Scottish island. So, of course it's going to be what it was. But I've forgotten most of it. So yeah, apologies to anyone that wasn't quite expecting that. That's my bad. But I probably could have rewatched it before then and given a bit of a better warning. But I made a last minute decision and thought, yeah, you know what? Let's see if we can watch The Wicker Man, and we could, and we did. I do have a good few other films in mind for future movie nights. Adult themes, yeah, exactly. Which, again, I'm not under the impression that anyone who finds any interest in this content here is under the age of 18. But you're still mad you missed it. I'm sorry. No reruns. But it is available on the Internet Archive. So if for any reason you don't have it and wanted to watch it in your own time, I can absolutely hook you up with a link that the internet tells me is legal. But yeah, like, because even still, that everyone is presumably safely of an age to watch that kind of stuff, it's fine. But for some reason it's still, and this is probably just like my childhood and upbringing speaking, I still get kind of uncomfortable watching things like that. It's like, with a group of people, it's like, yeah, it's, I always feel like I'm being judged, like I've made this content. I'm like, yeah, look at this. No, it's just art. It's just art. It's fine, but yeah. So I don't know. Future films probably won't be of a similar vein. I'm trying to think what other ones I've had in mind. I know there's a couple. Arrival is one, actually. I do think we should watch Arrival, because that's a really good film. And I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, I don't know. The Lighthouse, we could watch The Lighthouse. Gets weird. Gets very weird. But it's a great film. Arrival is so good you need to rewatch it. Yeah, I've not seen it in a little while. You'd be up for watching Arrival? Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't know when it would be. I'd like to try and make myself do them more regularly. But also, I kind of like... I think what I would like to do is plan them more and announce them earlier, but not do them like every month or something, because I like the excitement of sort of infrequent events. And if it starts to become like every month on a schedule, then it can feel a little bit tired. Whereas there's an excitement like, ooh, this thing's coming up. Yeah. So who knows? We'll see when schedules quarterly. Yeah, but then also that feels so spread out. Then you only do 4 a year. It's yeah. But yeah, I would like to get it organized better than just an hour before, or like the most you get is like 2 days before, where we go, oh yeah, no, let's do a movie night, and then everyone has to scramble or miss out. That's Now and then, yeah, but with more of a mind to giving people notice beforehand so you can actually plan for it. And maybe we can try and find a good time for most people rather than a bad time for everyone. Right. I'm doing nothing with my evening, so I can stay up a bit later and put a film on. Anyway, I'm going to read a story now. So, yeah, I don't think I need to click on or do anything else. I'm just going to chill, reposition my microphone. Apologies if there's any noise. Pick up my book. Turn to chapter 7, which, as I've said before, is, if you're watching live, linked at the top of chat, or on YouTube, linked in the description below. I think I mentioned that before. I got sidetracked. Couldn't be me. But that's where it is, and thank you for listening on YouTube. Yeah, and if we're all ready, I'm going to start reading and see where we stop. Because this is a long chapter and I'm not going to get through it all today. So, if we are ready... Oh, Stephen, hello. Welcome in. I was lurking your stream earlier, mostly. I think I've dropped like one comment in or something. Hello. Thank you for the resub. Thank you for the 51 months. It's lovely to see you. Just in time. Yep, you've missed nothing but just me sitting here. About 30% of my vocabulary this evening has been I am feeling tired, so I'm going to be yawning. I'm actively trying not to say anymore. I'll give myself that one just for illustrative purposes, but other than that, you know those feels? Yeah, I've just been tired this week. But the thing is, I don't even think I've done anything. I have no reason for it. It's not like I've been getting up early or working late or anything. I'm just tired. So there's the voice in the back of the brain going, well, you can't be tired, you haven't earned it. Like you have to earn how you feel. That's a conversation for me and my therapist. Haha. Sometimes it's just like that. Yeah, sometimes it do be that way. Right, where was I? I was about to read some story. So, if we're all ready, and you've clicked if you want to read along, I am going to begin with The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. Chapter 7. Now, as I went towards the north and west, I steered me warily for a great while, that I come safe of that great watcher of the northwest. And as I made forward, I put thought to all matters which must concern me, so far as I had imagining to see. And first I did consider the speed that I should keep, and found presently that I did well to be moderate, or that I had before me a great and mighty journey, and, indeed, who might speak knowingly of the end thereof? And another matter I did arrange, for I would make the times of my goings forward, and the times of mine eatings and sleepings, all to a wise and regular fashion, that thereby I might go a great way, with the less harm to my body, so that I should be strong when the need did come for my strength. And I made, in the end, that I should eat and drink at every 6th hour, and at the 18th hour sleep me until the 24th. And by this means did I eat thrice in that time, and have 6 hours of sleep. And this seemed very good to me, and I did strive always to manage thus in all my great journeying in the Nightland. Yet, as may be supposed, there were times oft and many when I must watch without ceasing, and leave my slumber unto the future, for the land was full of grim and dreadful perils. And, as doth be human, I break my rule straight away in the beginning, for I ceased not to walk for 21 hours, hiding and creeping, as the needs did be, in those places that were like to show me unto the watcher. And when I did think upon food, it did sicken me, so that I would eat by and by, as I made it within my thoughts. But when 21 hours had gone, I grew very weary and something faint, and was forced that I look about for some place where I might have rest. and in a little while I did see, away off, a small fire-hole, the like of which I had passed odd times even so early. And I made to come nigh to that part, for there would be warmth from the chill of the night-land, and mayhaps a place dry and convenient to my slumber. And when I came anigh, I saw that it was a cheerful place, as it might be said, amid so much gloom, for the hole was but a few paces wide, and full of a dull glowing fire that did bubble somewhat, and throw off a small sulphur smoke. And I sat me down, at no great way, and did place the discus on the rock to my hand. And I moved not a while, but was aweary, so that I had not the courage to eat, neither to drink, but must turn me and look back to the mighty pyramid. And, in truth, though I had come a very good space, yet was I so anigh to it, that I was both cheered and put out of heart. For it did seem close upon me, by reason of its greatness, so that I, who had journeyed a hard and weariful way, was shaken with the greatness of the task that was upon me. Yet was this but one side of my heart, for it was good to feel the nearness of my mighty home, and I knew that there did countless millions make watch upon me as I sat. Yet did I make no sign, for it is not meet to make a constant farewell, but to go. Yet was it very strange to be thus near, and to show such behaviour as were proper to one afar from all humanity. But so it was that I ordered my ways, for it did seem proper to me. Yet was I happy to know that the dear Master Montjuacan must, time and oft, have spied upon me through the great spy-glass, and mayhaps did watch me in that moment. And it grew in me that I did act weakly to hold off from mine victuals, and showed foolishness before my kind friend afar, and I did ope my scrip, and take therefrom 3 tablets, the which I chewed and did eat, for this was a strong food, treated that it had but small bulk. Yet were they not filling to the belly. And I made that I would drink well, that I might feel that something was therein. And to this end I took from a strong and a special tube a dust, and I caught the dust within a little cup, and the air did make an action upon that dust, as it were of chemistry, and the dust did boil and make a fizzing in the cup, and rose up and filled it with a liquid that was of simple water, yet very strange to see come that way, but ordinary after a time. And in this way, as might be seen, had I such food and drink in but a little scrip that might keep life within me for a great time. Yet was it a way of discomfort, and lacking to the mouth and to the belly, but a sufficient thing unto the need of the body, and good matter for a thankful heart in that dark and hungry land. Now when I had eaten, I did go over in their order those things which I did carry, for there was, beside the discos and that scrip of food, a pouch that did contain matters various, and these I did look into, and afterward did take out a small compass that I had been give by the Master Montjuacan, so that I might find of its workings without the great redoubt, and he had said unto me that it might be that I should pass far off into the nightland, and lose the mighty pyramid, so great a country and so plentiful a darkness. Then, perchance, if that ancient principle did still lurk within the machine, though turned no more to the north, but unto the pyramid, then should it guide my feet homeward out of the everlasting night, and thus have once more that ancient use which, as I do know, is common unto this age. And this was a very cunning thing to have with me, if but it held service to the earth current, and a rare thing which the Master Montjuacan did make with his own hands, and much skill and pains, from an olden one that had place within the great museum, and concerning which I have told somewhat before this place. And I set the thing upon the ground, but it had no certain way with it, but did spin and waver constantly, and this I made to consider, and remembered that I was yet above that part where, afar in the earth, did spread the greatness of the underground fields, and I was, haply, but a little way off from the crack, though a mighty way above. And it pleased me to wonder whether the dear Master Monstruaken did behold how that I made test with the compass, for the light was good from the fire-hole, and the great spy-glass had a great strength. Yet had I no certainty, for, as I did know, much from watchings, there was no surety in the searching of the land by the glass, for there was oft plainness where you did think surely none should see, and anon a dullness where might be thought that the sight went gaily. And this may be plain to all, for the wavering of the lights from the strange fires was not to be accounted to rule, but made a light here, and a darkness there, and then did change about oddly. Moreover, there were smokes and mists that did come upwards from the earth, in this place and in that, and had some whiles a greatness, but oft were small, and did lurk low, and had no power but to confuse the sight. And presently I did put the compass in my pouch, and made to compose myself unto sleep. But here were I now set down how that, in the end, after I had gone many days journeying outwards from the mighty pyramid, I did indeed find it to draw the northward part of the needle unto it, and this was a comfort and a pleasure to my spirit. Moreover, if ever I did get back, I did think it would be a matter for great interest unto the Master Monstruaken. Yet, in verity, were there other matters that should hold him more, for he was right human, as all should know. And, moreover, concerning this same compass, I did find a fresh thing, for, after a yet greater time, as I shall set out in a due place, if I do but remember, which doubt is ever my fear to fret me, I came a mighty way from the redoubt, and lo, fearing that I might indeed lose that, my great home, in the darkness of the world, I did pull out that strange wonder of the needle, that I might have comfort by its homeward pointing. And I did discover a new power in the night, for the machine did point no more directwards unto the great redoubt, but was a point unto the westwards, so that I had knowledge that some great power afar in the darkness of the world did sway upon it, and I had a childlike wonder that this might be, in truth, the same power of the north, of which the books and my memory dreams did tell. And, indeed, no doubt should there be upon this matter, yet who might not have doubt in that time, that they should perceive after an eternity that ancient northward face swaying that small servant unto an olden obedience. And it was, as it were, a revealing unto me how that to know within the brain is one matter, but to have knowledge within the heart is another. For I had always known concerning this northward force, but yet had not known with the true meaning of knowledge. And yet one other matter there was to cause doubt, at that moment, of this new knowing, for it came to me that maybe the power of the lesser redoubt did begin to act upon the machine, even as the earth current of the great pyramid did hold yet a strong drawing upon the needle. And were this so, then did I not surely begin to stand anigh unto my journey's end. For that less power of the lesser redoubt could have no impudence to pull, save that I had come to a closeness with it. Yet, in truth, as I do now have knowledge, it was the north that drew, and I do seem to make a great telling about this little matter. But how else shall I show you mine inward mind, and the lack of knowledge, and likewise the peculiar knowings that did go to the making of that time, and the peoples thereof, which is but to say the same thing twice over. And now, as I did say, I made to compose myself for sleep, and to this end I took a cloak matter which did cross my shoulder and hip, and wrapped it about me, and lay down there in the darkness of the night by that strange fire-hole. And I lay the Discos beside me within the cloak, for it was indeed my companion and friend in bitter need, so that I had pleasure to feel the strange thing anigh to me. And as I did lie there, in those moments that do drowse the soul, as it were that they do proceed as breath out of the mouth of sleep, I had a half-knowing that the aether did surge about me, and I doubt not but that there had watched my every doing many of the millions, and had been humanly stirred at my commending of my spirit unto sleep, and thus did shake the aether of the world about me with their unity of sympathy. And mayhaps I had some little knowing of this thing, as I did pass drowsy into slumber, and it is surely like that I slept the better for it. Moreover, I was wondrous tired and worn, and thus did sleep very strong and heavy. Yet I mind me that my last dim thinkings were upon that sweet maid I did go to find. And in slumber did I have speech with her in dreams, and a strange happiness about me, and all seeming to be touched by fairy light, and freed from the sorrow of life. And it was from a sweet and lovely sleeping such as this that I was waked suddenly by a great and mighty sound, and I came instant to a possessing of my senses, and I knew that the mighty voice of the home call did go howling across the night, and, swift and silent, I slid the cloak from about me, and took the haft of the wondrous Discos into mine hand. And I did look towards the pyramid quickly for a message, for I had a sure knowledge that there had a great need arisen, and that some terror came towards me out of the dark, else they had never waked all the nightland to a knowing that a human was abroad out of the mighty refuge. And even as I did peer towards the great redoubt, I could not abide to keep my gaze entire that way, but did take a large and fearful look all about me, yet could make to see nothing, and so did stare, eager and anxious, afar into the upper blackness of the night, where did shine that final light of the tower of observation, and the same while crouched and holding the Discos, and making to glance across my shoulders, and to watch for the message, and all in the same moment. And then, afar upwards in the prodigious height, I did see the great and bright and quick darting flashes of a strange green fire, and did know that they spelled to me in the set speech a swift warning that a grey monster, that was a great grey man, had made scent of me in the dark, and was even in that moment of time crawling towards me through the low moss bushes that lay off beyond the fire-hole to my back. And the message was sharp, and bade me to leap into the bushes unto my left, and to hide there, so that I might chance to take the thing to an advantage. And, as may be thought, they had scarce flashed the tale unto me, but I was gone in among the shadows of a clump of the moss-bush that did grow anigh, and I sweat with a strange terror, and a cold and excited shaking of the heart, yet was my spirit set strong to conquer. And lo, as I did crouch there, hidden, I saw something come very quiet out of the bushes that did grow beyond the fire-hole, and it was great, and crept, and was no ways coloured but by greyness in all its parts. And the glare from the fire-hole did seem to trouble it, so that it looked, laying its head to the ground, and spying along the earth in a strange and brutish fashion, that it might oversee the glare of the fire-hole. Yet I doubt that it saw beyond the fire with plainness, for in a moment it crept swift in among the bushes again, and came out towards the edge of the fire-hole in another place, and this it did thrice unto my left, and thrice unto my right, and every time did lay its head to the earth, and spy along, and did hunch its shoulders, and thrust forward the jaw horridly, and turn the neck, as a very nasty beast might go, wanton. Now, as you may think, this manner of the beast-man did shake my courage mightily, for I did think each time that it did go inward among the moss bushes that it had made discovery of me, and would make to take me in the back, from out of the dark of the bushes, and this was an uncomfortable thing to consider, as others might think also, had any been there in the bush with me. And then, in truth, did that same swift sense of mine hearing prove helpful to my saving. For, behold, the thing did go back into the moss bushes after that last coming out, and did seem to make as it had made a failing to discover me, and had no further intent, save to return unto the night. And I had this thought truly in mine heart, and for maybe a minute. And then, lo, within my soul a voice did speak plain, and did warn me that the thing did make a great compass among the moss bushes about the fire-hole, having made discovery of me, and it did go warily to take me in the back from the other side. Now, when I heard this voice speak within my spirit, I had knowledge that the dear Master Monstruaken had made watch from the tower of observation, and did send the speech with his brain elements, having in mind that I had the night hearing. And I trusted the speech, for in the same moment of time there did beat all about me in the night the solemn throb of the master word, as that it had been added with speed to give instant assurance. And I leapt quick from that clump of the moss bush unto another, and crouched and made a watch all about me, and kept the ears of my spirit open, knowing that the Master Monstruaken did also watch all for me. And suddenly I saw a little moving of a bush that grew to the back of those bushes in which I had been hid, and there came out of the bush that moved a great grey hand, and moved the moss of the clump where I had been, as it were that something peered out of the moving bush, and there followed the great grey head of the grey man, and the head went into the clump of the moss bush where I had been. And I knew that I must strike now, and I leapt, and smote with the discus, and the thing fell upon its side, and the great grey legs came out of the hither bushes, and twitched, and drew upwards, but the head remained in the bush where I had been hid. And I stood away from the thing whilst it died, and in mine hand the discus did spin and send forth fire, as it were that it did live, and did know that it had slain a great and horrid monster. And presently the grey man was dead, and I went away from those bushes unto the far side of the fire-hole, and I stood with the discus held high and spinning and sending out fire, that they within the mighty pyramid might know that I had slain the beast-man, or it might be that it lay too much in the shadow for them to look upon. Oh, excuse me, just hit by a yawn. But the Master Monstruaken spoke not again to me, for, indeed, it was not meet to do so, except it might save me from a sure danger, for, as you may know from my past tellings, there were powers of the Nightland that did hearken unto such matters, and it was like enough that there had been overmuch done, even thus, for my further safety. Yet the thing could not be helped. And now that I was a little calmed, and eased from my fear, I could know that the aether of the night was disturbed by the gladness of the millions within the great redoubt, so that it was plain how great a multitude had given notes unto the fight, and their hearts to beat in sweet sympathy and natural fear, so that I did feel companied and befriended, though, as it may be thought, something shaken yet about the heart. Now, in a little time, I did gather unto me my wits, and had myself to order, and I looked to see how the hours did go, and I found that I had surely slumbered through 10 hours, and I reproached myself, for, indeed, I had slept over sound by reason of my having lacked a regular way and time, as I had, with a proper wisdom, made to be my rule, and I resolved that I would obey the wit of my reason in all the future time, and make to eat and rest in due season, as you will wot that I did before intend. Then, with a self-reproachful heart, I went around the small fire-hole, and caught up my cloak and other matters. And I turned me towards the mighty pyramid, and did look once upwards along all the great slope, where it did go measureless into the far blackness of the everlasting night. And I made no salutation, for I had so resolved, as you will know. Moreover, I desired not to call forth any unneedful disturbance of the aether of the world, which indeed must be, did I make to stir the emotions of the millions. And I turned me then away, and went off into the night, going swift and cautious, and bearing the discos cunningly, and almost, as it were, with a love for that strange and wondrous weapon that had so befriended me, and slain the foul grey man with one stroke. And I had feeling that it did know me, and had a comradeship for me, and I doubt none will understand this, save, it might be, they of the olden days that did carry one strong sword always. Yet was the discus more than the sword, for it did in truth seem to live with the fire and the flame of the earth-current that did beat within it. And it was well acknowledged within the great redoubt that none might touch the discos of another, or that the thing went crustily, as it might be said, in the hands of a stranger, and if any made foolishness of this knowledge, and did persist much to such an handling, or making to use, the same would presently act clumsy with the weapon, and come to a hurt. And this was a sure thing, and had been known maybe 100,000 years, or perchance a greater time. And by this it doth seem wise to believe that there did grow always an affinity between the nature of the man, which doth as ever include the woman, and the discourse that he did use in his practice, and because of this known thing, and that the place would elsewise be lumbered with olden weapons of those that did die, it was a law and usage that there was placed with the dead the discourse of the dead, there upon the last road in the country of silence, and was thus made to give back unto the earth-current the power that did lie in it. And this doth seem to a careless thinker, as it were that I told once again those olden customs of the ancient folk. But this is otherwise, and had a sound reason to it. Yet if you do so believe, I doubt not but that a right human sentiment was something at the bottom, which is proper, for it is meet that love should mate with wisdom to mother comfort in our sorrows, and it is a warm thing to do aught for our dead, and none may say nay to this. Now, as I did go onwards into the nightland, looking ever to this shadow and to that, it may be conceived how my heart would stir with swift fear at this and at that, and that my body would oft quiver to leap aside, and as swift discover that naught assailed. And so did I go forward, and always with imaginings and wonders concerning what manner of uncouth being or brute might come out of the darkness all about. Yet in all that time there was a certain proudness of the heart, that I did come safe out of the power of the grey man, and did surely slay him. But, truly, it were well that the praise be considered, and not overmuch given unto me, for I had died as I slept, but that they of the great redoubt had made watch over me, and waked me unto my saving. Now, presently as I walked, I grew something faint, and had knowledge that I did foolishly. For, indeed, I should have eat after my fight, Yet may I be forgiven for this forgetting, in that I had been much shaked and put about. And I sat me down in a little clear place among the bushes, and did eat 3 of the tablets, and did once more shake forth the dust that did turn in the air to a natural water by a proper and natural chemistry of these matters. And after I had eat, I sat a little while, and did think, and did look upwards at the great slope of the pyramid in the night, and all the time did I listen with mine ears and with my spirit, and kept the discourse across my knees, and looked this way and that very frequent, but nothing came anigh. And so I rose presently, and went onwards, and walked for 6 hours towards the north and the west. And I made much to the west, for a little, that I might come clear of the northwest watcher. Yet, after a space, I made to do foolishly, for I changed my mind about, and kept something more towards the north, so that I should have a surer sight of that monster. And this was, in truth, a rash and naughty thing to consider, for, if I were but seen, then should that grim brute make a signal unto the evil powers, and I be met swiftly with destruction. But surely the heart is a strange and wayward thing, and given to quick fears, and immediately unto great and uncountable rashness. And so I did go forward unwisely to the northward of a safe and proper going. And it may be that an influence was upon me, and drew me thatwards, but who shall say? Now, a great time I walked, and made a halt upon every 6th hour, and did eat and drink, and look a little unto the monstrous towering of the great redoubt, and afterwards make strong mine heart, and go forward again. And always I did go warily, and chiefly among the low moss bush, but sometimes out upon stony ground, and oft across places where sulphur did puff somewhat from the ground in a low smoke, very strong in the nostrils, and not liked inwardly. And as I made onwards, I looked always to my right and to my left, and anon to the rear, yet made a constant observation of the mighty watcher, that I did begin to draw nigh unto. And oft did I stoop to crawl, and my hands did bleed somewhat. But after I was troubled so, I put on the great gloves that made complete the grey armour, and so was shod proper to such journeying. And presently, when 18 hours did have passed since that my sudden awakening to the peril of the grey man, I did search about for a place to slumber, for I would keep wisely unto my ruling, and go not over long lacking of sleep. But by this planning I should be the less like to sleep over sound, and so should set my spirit to listen whilst I did sleep, and by so much as my spirit should serve me with faith, should I have safety. And this thing is plain, and wants not more of the saying thereof. And I came presently unto a sudden place where the land did go downwards brokenly, as that it had been burst a great while gone by the inward fires. And I looked downwards over the edge of that place, and went round about it, and did see presently a ledge upon the far side that was difficult to come upon, yet a place of some little safety to any that might go down to it, for it was awkward to see, and did any monster seek to come at me, I should have chance of warning, and might go downwards a greater way in time to my salvation. And by this determination I abode, and came down to that place with labour, but was cheerful of heart that I had found so sure a shelter. And I eat my 3 tablets, and drank the water that I did get from the powder, and so made to compose my body to sleep. Yet at this time a thought did come to me, and I made calculation afresh, and laughed somewhat at that my poor counting, for, indeed, I had thought to eat but thrice in the 24 hours, yet by my arranging I was made indeed to eat 4 times, as you shall see immediately by a little thought, and this thing came more strong upon my spirit than any might think, for I did eat overmuch for the lasting of the food, though in verity it was but little to my belly, as you must all think, and have sympathy for my discomfort. And I considered a little, and had determined that I should afterwards in my journeying eat but 2 of the tablets to my meal, and this was a wise thought, and like much wisdom a discomposing thing. But so it was, and I set it down that you may know the arranging of my ways at that time. Now, in all this while of meditation, I had been setting my cloak about me, and was fast set to my sleeping, for I had walked a weary way, and I lay me down upon my left side, with my back to the rock which did overhang me something above, so that I was contented to feel hid from things that might pass by in the night, and I had the cloak about me, and the discos close against my breast within the cloak, and my head upon my pouch and upon my scrip. And as I lay thus a moment easeful, I could see that so mighty was the uprising of the great pyramid that it was not hid from me even thus, but did stand upward into the night, and did shine, and was plain to be seen above the further edge of that deep place where I did lie. And I fell upon sleep, looking upward at that final light, where, as might be, the master Montjuacan did bend the great spyglass upon my lonesomeness, as I lay there upon the ledge. And this was a thought of sweet comfort upon which to slumber, the which I did. But my spirit lay wakeful within my breast, and did listen through the night, and harked for all evil matters and things that did make to come anigh. But also my spirit did whisper unto Nanny, as I went into sleep, and so passed I into dreams. Now, it may be thought that I did act with a strange valiance, in that I composed my body so properly to slumber, and with but a little trouble of the heart concerning the coming of monsters. And in truth this hath seemed somewhat so to me, thinking since that time. But I do but set the thing that is truth, and make not to labour to an illusion of truth, and so must tell much that doth seem improper to the reality. But must all bear with me, and have understanding of the hardness of setting forth with true seeming the honesty of truth, which, in verity, is better served oft times by timely and cunning lies, and so shall you understand this matter so well as I. But presently my spirit wakes me there in the half-dark of the night land, and I looked swift about me, and upwards, and saw nothing to fear. Then did I peer at my dial, and made to discover that I had slept full over 6 quiet hours, and by this I knew the reason of mine awakening, for it was so great impressed upon me by mine inward sense and being. And this you shall understand some ways, who have thought ere sleep to wake to a certain time in the morning, and by understanding shall you believe and give me all your kind harking and human sympathy. And I made to have a smartness of going, which is ever hard to the newly waked, and I eat 2 tablets, the while my belly did cry out for a wholesome and proper filling, but I drank some of the water, and so did ease somewhat of my hunger. Then did I wind my cloak to its shape, and put upon me my gear, which was the scrip and the pouch and the discos to my hip, and I clomb out from that place of rest. Yet before I did come rightly up into the open, I peered about, and made some surety that no evil brute was anigh. And then I gat me out, and stood upon my feet, and looked for a little upwards at the mighty slope of the great redoubt, which did seem very nigh unto me, by reason of it being so monstrous in bigness. And I wondered whether, in that moment, the master Montjuacan did look down upon me, with the great spyglass, and afterwards I turned away swiftly, and went on into the night land. for it did always make me shaken with lonesomeness to look upon my great home. And so I did go forward with a strong and uncaring stride, but grew presently to quietness, and to have back the proper caution of my going. Yet had I not gone all foolishly, for I had taken the discos from my hip ere this, so that I possessed it handily. Now there is one matter which shall seem but a small and natural occurring unto you, yet was strong upon me in that time, and this thing was that I did begin now to see the night land from the new outlooking of my distance from the mighty pyramid. And it was as that a man of this day did go from the earth to travel among the stars, and lo, should he not find them to shift upon his vision, so that the great bear and this and that shaping of the star clusterings should make a new order as he did wander onwards, and so should he find that there was naught that was truly fixed, as he did before then think, but all to alter according unto the place whence the looking. And this thing shall be plain unto you, though no thought be put to the matter, for it is of an evident verity that doth need not argument to expound. And so shall you have memory of me, there a wander among those strange shapings and wonders of that grim land, the which I had never but supposed to seem, but as my memory did retain them, from the lookings of all my life within the great redoubt. And so it was, that ever there did this thing and that open out to a new view, and the night land take to itself a constant new aspect to mine eyes, which had never until that time had but one fixed vision of the same. And you shall understand with me how that when, about the 14th hour of that day's travel, I did draw very nigh unto the monstrous watcher of the northwest, it did seem so utter strange from this fresh aspect that I had been like to think that I did see a new monster. For, in truth, when I did come at last to creep to within a mile of it, among the low moss bushes, I was confounded by the mighty chin did come forwards. I was confounded that the mighty chin did come forward towards the great redoubt, even as the upward part of a vast cliff, which the sea doth make hollow about the bottom. For it did hang out into the air above the glare of the fire from the red pit, as it had been a thing of rock, all scored and beweathered, and dull red and seeming burned and blasted by reason of the bloody shine that beat upward from the deep of the red pit. And by the way in which I do tell upon it, you shall know that I did surely view it something from the side at this immediate time, for in truth it was then that I did draw the nearer, and moreover I was the more astonished at this viewing than I had been to the front, for it was so utter strange, and shapen so different from the brute that did hang in my memory. And a great time I did lie there upon my belly, and shaken by a fear of the beast, yet emboldened, as you may conceive, by having come to the side, and being hopeful in my heart that I was very secure within so great a shadow, and a thick sheltering of the moss bushes. And surely it was that I did creep more anigh, the while that I did look, for presently I had a very plain seeing of the great monster, and did know where I had gotten to, and thereby did acknowledge unto myself that this was an utter foolishness, and, like for all that any might say, to lead unto destruction. Yet, as all must know, there was the first fear, and the ceasing of this fear, as I did wot that I was so little a thing to heed out there in the shadows, and presently a gaining of courage, and the prick of my being that did crave to see clear this exceeding wonder. And so was I come close, more or less, having gone far upon my hands and knees, yet sometimes to pause, but afterwards on again. Now by this nearness I was the more truly able to perceive how that the bulk of the watcher did rise up into the night, like a hill, and the colour was mostly black, save and indeed where it did face to the red shine of the pit, and concerning this I have done telling. And so did I lie there, and stare a great while, parting a small hole in the moss bushes, that I might spy through the same. And the thing was squat there, and might have root within the earth, so it did seem to mine imaginings, as I did stare with a dumb wonder. And there were monstrous warts upon the thing, and indents, and a mighty ruggedness and lumpings, as it were that it did be pimpled with great boulders that were inbred within that monstrous hide, and where the shine from the pit of red fire did strike upon these, they did stand out into the darkness away from the skin, as you of this age shall see mountains of the moon catch a bright fire from the sun, and show plain upon the night of the moon. Now, as I have set down, I did lie there and look a great while, and it came presently to me that there was unease within the mighty pyramid among the millions, for I did feel the aether of the world to be disturbed by their distress, and so had a knowing that they had a cunning wareness concerning the place where I did hide among the moss bushes. And the thrilling in the night did bring a wisdom into my head, for in verity, as I have said, this was a foolish matter that I was upon. And I gat a thought that the watcher might have an awareness of the trouble of the multitudes, and, indeed, for all that I did know, it had a full knowledge of all my wandering, though concerning this I did think otherwise truly in my heart, as is a most human and proper way to make comfortable the spirit, where doubt can have no ease from reason. And I made that I would go backwards to a good distance from the watcher, and go forward again upon my journeying, if but that I come safe from so unwise an adventuring. And as I did begin to return, it was to me as that all my senses were newly awake, for I had a sudden knowing that I was within the atmosphere, should I not call it, of the monster. And I gat an abrupt and horrid shaking of the spirit, for I did feel in verity that my soul had come to anigh, and that the beast had a sure knowledge concerning me, yet did make to my destruction with no haste. But after that way and fashion that did seem proper unto it. And this feeling you shall understand the better, may be, when I do tell that it was to me as that the air all about me was full of a quiet and steadfast life and keen intelligence that I did believe to come forth from the watcher on every side, so that I did feel as one already within the gaze of some great and evil power. Yawn again, sorry. Yet, though I had the great terror upon me, I made no foolish haste, but commanded my soul to courage, and put a guard upon my way of going, and so made a very quiet journey for maybe 2 full miles, and afterwards did allow myself something more of haste, for I was now grown easier in my spirit, and felt apart from the spirit of the great watcher. And after a longer while I did leave that hill of watchfulness to my rear, and was gone onward into the night, yet, as may be known, with a vague unease and trouble in my heart, and a swift and frequent turning, to learn surely that no evil thing came after me. For, as you may know, I could nowise have forgetting, concerning that great quiet life which did seem to be living in all the air around that mighty bulk. For it had been all about me in the night, as I have told, and I to feel that I had been surely discovered. And thus shall you know how shaken was my spirit in verity. Now, presently, at the 18th hour of that day's travel, I ceased from my journeying that I might eat and drink, and I did sit a little while, and looked back upon the strange and monstrous thing which I had come beyond. And the great humped back and vast shoulders of the watching thing rose up into the night, black and cumbrous, against the red shine of the pit. And thus, as you shall think, had that brute looked always unto the mighty pyramid, through eternity, and did cease not from watching, and was steadfast, and silent, and alone, and none did understand. And after I had eat, and drunk some of the water, I went onward for a full matter of 6 hours more, being minded to have no sleep until I had put a great way between me and the watcher. And in this part of my journey did I come to the place where the Silent Ones kill, as it was named in the maps. And I observed a very wondrous caution, and went away from it a little unto the north, where I did see at a distance the shinings of fire-holes, the which did promise me warmth through my slumber. And here you must know that the place where the Silent Ones kill was an utter bare place, where all did seem of rock, and no bush did seem to grow thereon, so that a man might not come to any hiding, though in truth there might be some hole here or there, yet was none shown in any map within the pyramid, neither did there seem to be any such to me, as I did creep there among the moss bushes to the northward of the place, and look constant and fearful towards it, so that I should see quickly whether any Silent One did move across all the grey quiet of that rocky plain. And concerning this same place where the Silent Ones kill, it were well to make an explanation how that there was always a little and far-spreaded light over all that lonesomeness, and that the light was something grey seeming, as it were that a lichen might grow upon the rocks, and send out a little uncomfortable glowing, even as certain matters do even as certain matters do in these times, if you do but know the place and the time to seek them. Yet was the light exceeding weak, and very cold and dismal, and did seem truly to show naught with a sureness, so that it did appear to the eye, if one did look fixedly, that there were shadows that did move here or there, as it were of silent beings, and none might know in truth whether this shaping of the greyness was to the clouding of the reason, or that the eye did see of reality. Yet if one did look with the great spyglass, then might there be some surety and plainness, and likewise was it so, if one did have come sufficient an eye to that uncomfortable place, even as I then did be. And so you shall conceive how that I did slide very quiet from bush unto bush, for I had alway in all my life had a very dread fear of this place, and oft did I peer out into the dim grey light of the lonesome plain unto my left, and would think sometimes to perceive the shapes of the Silent Ones stood vague and watchful, yet on the instant to see nothing. And that is where I'm going to take a break. So, yeah. Hang on, I turned the page over on a bit. Firstly, use of the the past tense of climb is written in here as clomb, which I really like. C-L-O-M-B. I remembered encountering that when first reading through it, and clomb? Alright. Sure, okay. It feels like a silly wordplay that someone might do. But yeah. Clomb. Also, I'm struggling to say it because as soon as I start reading, my sinuses just go, nah, we're blocked now. So, I'm a little bit bunged up, it feels. I feel like there's something else on that page. There was a lot of... I have a compass. I realised that the compass doesn't necessarily point to the Great Tower, to the Great Redoubt, my home, but sort of follows the earth current that runs underneath. But also I did get out and found that it points to something else. I'm going to laboriously explain this over the course of 3 pages. There's a lot of that. It's some fantastic grammar in some places. I hope that I managed to do it justice, because there's some fantastic grammar and there is some fiercely confusing grammar where just one word used You know, words have tenses, and I am used to, I guess, a largely modern set of tenses in how these words are used to direct where the rest of the sentence is going, and especially in this. I think it's something like, I get it a little bit in like M.R. James as well. It's why I find him difficult to read sometimes. But most of all the time in this, I am tripping over words in the middle of a sentence because it's just used wrong to my brain, to my understanding of how an English sentence is structured. And so then I'm expecting it to go one way, and he just like veers it off in the direction that he intended. And yeah, I imagine it is even harder to follow. It's even harder to follow listening because, one, it's confusing as hell as a default position, and secondly, it's being read aloud by someone whose tone is constantly having to change and shift to catch up with where the sentence is actually going, as opposed to where I thought. So yeah, I know no one's complaining at me, but I want to apologise anyway because I'm doing my best and it's difficult. Reminds you of Shakespeare in that way? Yeah. Yeah, Shakespeare is also, if you're not like clued into it and like if you've been like studying Shakespeare and you've got it in the brain, it's hella confusing. Right, anyway, I'm rambling. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to move around and stretch a little bit and come back in about 5 minutes. I'm going to see how much more I had planned. I may not go quite as far as I had planned. It might be a shorter second half. It would probably be a shorter second half. Yeah, once you've got the vibe of it, you can follow, but it takes a minute to get there. Yeah, and like when I'm tired, I'm going to struggle even more. But yeah, let's take a break. Everyone, reset your brains. Go take 5 minutes to stretch, cycle your fluids and stuff. Oh, thank you, Smallcog. I appreciate it. It's not something you've read on your own. I think if I were just reading this to myself, I probably would have checked out by now. But I was about to describe it as like a perverse joy in reading it like this, and it's not that. Like, I'm not enjoying reading it because I think that it's something to like endure or suffer through. But there's something, I'm enjoying the challenge of it. Right? Like, yeah, I've come too far to stop. I can't just check out now. I'm enjoying the challenge of this, and I'm enjoying seeing who is also like down with this, because yeah, it's not going to be for everyone. I get that. But I think we're enjoying the journey. Yeah, anyway, 5 minute break. See you back here in a bit. Bye for now, friends. back. Hello, welcome back. I was watching the timer and then I got briefly distracted by marathon chat in a Discord that I'm in. The video game, not long distance running. And then missed the timer, but I don't think it was too long. Hello, yeah, hi, welcome back. Welcome back. And fun, I mean, speaking of, I said I wouldn't talk about marathons as like the main thing I've been playing, but even speaking of that, where he's talking about like painstakingly crawling through bushes, hoping that no one around you has the slightest hint of a whisper of a clue that there might be someone else in their vicinity, and the sheer just overwhelming dread of catastrophe that comes with the prospect of making the slightest sound. Guy who plays marathon pointing at that like, yeah, I know that feeling. Just the absolute terror that comes with knowing there's something over there, and if it knows that I'm here, I'm dead. That's one way to sharpen the senses, let me tell you. Talking about like it's like, you know, talking like some kind of combat veteran who had, you know, real world experience. No, I play a video game. But let me tell you, it's hard. Very fun though, and I'm not going to drag this tangent on any further. Yeah, what other things? Also, are there more things I was going to talk about? I like that he doesn't really have anything to give him any sort of, like, we've established he has some sort of like psychic powers or sort of like, I guess, like telepathic powers, like the ability to transmit and receive thoughts through the power of his brain, and yet I love that doesn't, his brain elements, yeah, I'm purposely avoiding, like, if I keep saying it, it's going to lose all meaning. But he's not, like, nothing about that actually gives him an advantage in terms of his, like, situational awareness. Like, he is in an extremely hostile space. He is absolutely surrounded by things that will kill him if they are aware that he's there, and he is so far completely reliant on everybody in the tower who's watching him on TV thinking, oh no, run. And that's what gives him, like, wait, I don't know what's going on here, but everyone's looking on me, and they're all watching me and going, no, don't die. And that's what's cluing me in that there's something about. It's something about that setup is very funny to me. I can't quite recontextualize it in, I don't know, it's like they're watching some kind of sporting event but actually able to impact, you know, like watching a penalty shootout and actually willing the ball to go into the goal or to be saved as needs. And it's like yelling at the character in a horror movie, but they can actually hear you. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Thank you. I knew someone would get there. Basically, yeah. And I don't know. I find that very funny that that's his advantage in this situation. It's not that he himself has some kind of telepathic psychic awareness of his surroundings and can get a sense like, wait a second, there's something not quite right about this. I should go cautiously. It's a wait, what? Just receives a message from millions even of people watching him going, yo, careful. Right, you are. Cheers, pals. Gives him the thumbs up and a wink. Ducks into a bush. Kills a guy with his fire-belching spinning blade on the end of a stick. Then has a curiously affectionate relationship with this weapon. That's a weird one to me. Yeah, don't wave at them because that would be meat. Yes, exactly. Oh no, you're picking it up. That's... Oh dear. Yeah, don't wave at them, because then they'll, like, the overwhelming surge of emotion from them seeing you do a little wave and giving them a thumbs up and a wink, that psychic wave of positivity will hit all, like, it'll, like, ping every single monster in the area. They'll know where you are. They'll know there's a lad out here. Get him. Make a great video game for several people. A group having to guide a person who can't. I mean, that. Funnily enough, that's the late 80s, early 90s, I think, children's TV show Nightmare that aired here in the UK. For those not from the UK. Not just referencing it, because I think, there you go, Stephen. Hat Films, I think, recently, just the other day, whatever, I think it went out the other day, made their own, like, callback to Nightmare. The whole show's on YouTube. I feel like I'd come close to that knowledge. I don't think I had actually fully learned that all of Nightmare was on YouTube. You know, that, what a show. I wasn't allowed to watch that as a kid because it was deemed too scary for me. But eventually, when I got to a point where I would watch it, because I'd had all these years of build-up of, like, no, it's really scary, you shouldn't watch it. I found it terrifying. Like, the whole, like, the skeleton, like, the skin kind of falls off to show your time running out and stuff. Some of that's kind of spooky for a child. Don't look at how old I actually was when I watched it. But yeah, that was a banger show. For those, let's just talk about Nightmare. So this is a children's game. So the Quizzard, the Quizzard from Blippo. It kind of has the same vibe as that. It's a completely different show, but it's a TV show where there's an actor who is like the host and a group of kids who are friends, and one of them wears a helmet that obscures their vision, and it is the objective of the friends to navigate them through a series of puzzles. Oh, you're on your phone since you're at the gym. Oh, no worries. I like, if anyone needs, just mention it on the Chilliteracy Discord. I will find a link and drop it there. And because it's Nightmare spelled with a K, like knight, like the guys that wore armor. Yeah, KNIGHTMARE. And so yeah, there's a group of, like, kids. One of them wore a helmet, and the rest of them were, like, watching on screen, like, it's like, I guess, like, look in my scrying pool and you can observe them. It's cameras, and you're watching your friend and, like, shouting instructions to them as they basically try to solve a D&D dungeon with, like, traps and puzzles and things to avoid. And so the one in the helmet is on just like a green screen room, and it's all, like, chroma keyed out, and so what their friends see is, like, this cool D&D dungeon. And it's honestly a really rad concept for a TV show. With that spelling name, just makes you think of horses, which itself has been great, because there was the Robert Downey Jr. quote about, I can't remember what he was commenting on, but it's something that he, in, like, the censored headline, he was describing something as, absolute horseshit. And they couldn't print that in the headline, so they basically censored it to absolute horses, which has been a wonderful insult. Like, just a wonderful term that people have been deploying this week, and I kind of want to keep it in my vocabulary. That is absolute horses. In theory, that should work. I am glad that we didn't have to battle around, like, permitting links and stuff, so that's cool. Yeah, so for those clicking, that's Nightmare. It's great. I might have to watch through that, or again arrange some kind of group watch along, because what a banger show. So good. Also, another thing that I remembered, the what was it? The man which doth as ever include the woman. That's I I respect, I appreciate that he is clarifying that, hey, you know, women could do this too, when talking about, I think that's the armour and the weapons and stuff. I appreciate that. It's not my favourite way to word it. But yeah, also I think it's around that point where he just has to mention, I was crawling on my hands and knees over these jagged rocks for a good while, and then my hand started bleeding, and then I put on my gloves that came with this armour. Like, yeah? Good. Well done. I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, I've just been sitting rambling for a while. So, you'll get to enjoy Nightmare. And yeah, again, I don't know. You find out that you've got a link, but if anyone wants to discuss it more, hit me up on the Discord. We can chat Nightmare. Better Nate than Leather. Yep. Let's continue reading. There's no links of where this is, because we're just somewhere in the middle of chapter 7. So, good luck finding where we left off from. But now I shall continue for a bit and see where we get to, if we're all ready to go. This is The Nightland, continued by William Hope Hodgson, chapter 7. And thus I did go onward, and came presently to a part where the grey plain did stretch out a bareness into the nightland to my front, so that my way ended, unless I did make a long passing roundabout. And I sat there among the moss bushes, and did consider, and looked out cunningly through a spy-hole in the bush in which I did sit, and I perceived that the part of the plain which did jut bareness into the land before me had no greatness of size, but might be passed swiftly in but a little running, and this thing should save me a wearisome going round, so that I made to consider it with a serious mind. And all the time did I search the bare greyness before me, and saw presently that it was surely empty. And I made to adventure myself across, running very swift until I had come to the far side, and lo, as I did go to rise up out of the bush, mine eyes were opened, as it were, and I saw that there was something amid the constant greyness, and I fell quickly into the bush, and did sweat very chill, but yet did haste to look. And I saw now that there were, in truth, matters that did show vague upon that part of the plain that was before me. And I did peer very constant and anxious, and behold, I saw that there was facing me a great line of quiet and lofty figures, shrouded unto their feet, and they moved not, neither made they any sound, but stood there amid the greyness, and did seem to make an unending watch upon me, so that my heart went unto weakness, and I did feel that there was no power of the moss bushes to hide me, for, in verity, they that stood so silent were certain of the silent ones, and I was very nigh to that place of destruction. Now I moved not for a time, but was made stiff by the greatness of my fear, yet I was presently aware that the silent ones came not towards me, but stood quiet, as that they did mind not to slay me, if but I did keep from that place. And there grew therefrom a little courage into mine heart, and I obeyed my spirit, and took a hold of my strength, and went slowly backwards in the bushes, and presently I was come a long way off, yet troubled and disturbed, and very strict to my going. And I made a great circling about that place where the plain of the silent ones did come outward, and so did gain to the northwest, and was thence something the happier in my heart, and went easily and oft upon my feet, yet making a strong watching to every side. And so I came at the last to a time when I had walked through 24 weariful hours, and was eager that I should come to a safe place for my sleep, yet did lack a happy belief of safety, in that I had come twice anigh to so grim trouble, and unsure I was that I did not be secretly pursued in the night. And this you shall believe to be a very desperate feeling, and a plight to make the heart sick, and to long with a great longing for the safety of that mine home. Yet had I put myself to the task, and truly I did never cease to the sorrowful remembering of that utter despair that had sounded to me plain in the last calling of mine own love, out of all mystery of the night. And but to think upon this was to grow strong in the spirit, yet to have a fresh anxiousness that I did the more surely keep my life within me, and so come to that maid's salvation. Now, as you shall mind, I had spied the shine of certain fire-holes somewhat to the northward, and had thought to make thereabouts a place for my sleep. For, in truth, there was a bitterness of cold in all the air of night that did surround me, and I was warmed nigh to a slow happiness by thinking upon a fire to lie beside, and small wonder, as you shall say. And I made presently a strong walking unto that place where did glow in the night the shine of the fire-holes, as I did well judge them to be, and so was like to have come over swiftly upon my death, as you shall presently see. For, as I came anigh to the first, I perceived that the light came upward out of a great hollow among the moss-bushes, and that the fire-hole burned somewhere in the deep of the hollow, so that I did but look upon the shine thereof. And very eager was I to come to that warmth, and I made more of haste than care, as I did hint, and so came very swift to the top of the hollow, yet was still hidden by the kindness of the moss-bushes. And as I made to thrust forward out of the bushes, that I might look and go downward into the hollow, there rose up to me the sound of a very large voice, and deep and husky. And the voice was a dreadful voice that did speak as that it said ordinary things, and in a fashion so monstrous as that it were that a house did speak. And, in verity, this is a strange thing to say, yet shall it have the truth of my feelings and terror in that moment. And I drew back swiftly from discovering myself, and was then all feared to move, or to make to go more backwards, lest that I should give knowledge that I was come anigh. And likewise did I shiver, lest that I was even then perceived. And so shall you have something of the utter fear that did shake me. And I abode there, very quiet, and moved not for a very great space, but did sweat and shake, for there was a monstrous horridness in the voice that did speak. And as I crouched there within the moss bushes, there came again the large voice, and it was answered by a second voice, and thereupon there arose, as it did seem, the speech of men that must have the bigness of elephants, and that did have no kindness in all their thoughts, but were utter monstrous. And the speech was slow, and it rose up out of the hollow, brutish and hoarse and mighty. But it rose up out of the hollow, brutish and hoarse and mighty. And I would that I could make you to hear it, and that you could but borrow mine ears for a little moment, and forthwith be shaken with that utter horror and an afraidness, even as was I. Now, presently, there was a very long quiet, and I ceased at last a little from mine over fear, and later I did calm somewhat, so that I made to shift my position, which was grown very uneasy. And there was still no sound from the hollow, wherefore, having a little boldness and much curiousness, and these despite my great fearfulness, I put forth mine hand, very cautious, and did move the moss-bush a little from my face. And I went forward upon the earth, and did lie upon my belly, and was by this so close upon the edge of that place that I was able to look downwards. And you shall know that I peered down into that great hollow, and did see a very strange and horrid sight. For, in truth, there was a large fire-hole in the centre of that place, and all about the sides there were great holes into the slopes of the hollow, and there were great men laid in the holes, so that I might see a great head that did show out to my sight here, from one of those holes, and would seem to be that of a monstrous man heavy with sleep. And there I would see but the buttocks of another, and as that he did curl himself inward to his brutish slumbering. And so was it all about, and to my memory there may be a score of these holes, yet had I not time to the counting, as you shall see. For, after that, I had made but a glance, as it were, at these sleeping and utter monstrous men. I perceived that there sat beyond the fire-hole 3 great men, and they were each greater than elephants, and covered a large part with the stiff and horrid hair that did be of a reddish seeming. And there were upon them great segs and warts, as that their skin had been hides that had never known covering. And there was betwixt them the body of a mighty hound, so big as a horse that they did skin. And I judged that this beast was one of those fearsome brutes which we did call the night hounds. Yet, as I should set down, they did nothing in that time in which I looked at them, but did sit, each with a sharp and monstrous bloody stone in his fist, and did look to the ground, as that they heeded not the earth or the food that they did prepare, but did listen to some outward sound. And you shall know that this brought to me a very swift and sudden terror, for I perceived now the why of their long silence. For, in verity, they had an unease upon them, being subtly aware that one was anigh, even as are the brute beasts in this manner and kind, as all do know. And I made to draw back, and win unto safety, if indeed this thing were to be done. And as I moved me, it may be that I shook a little earth into the hollow, for there was, indeed, a little sifting of dry dust below me, as I did wont, being very keen to hear by reason of my fright. And immediately did those 3 monstrous men look upward, and did seem to me to stare into mine eyes as I did lie there hid amid the moss bushes. And I was so put in fear that I did clumsily and sent another siftering of dust downward, as I did strive to go backward, swift and quiet from the edge. And all the time I did look through the bushes very fixedly, into the eyes of the giants. And lo, their eyes did shine red and green, like to the eyes of animals. And there rose up a roar from them that did nigh slay my soul with the horridness of the noise. And at that roaring all the giants that did lie in the holes did awake, and began to come outward into the hollow. Now I was surely lost, and given over to destruction, for they had possessed me immediately, but that in that moment, as I went backward, the earth gave behind me, and I fell into a hole among the moss bushes to my back, and I made first to come out very hurried, and all choked with the dust of sand and ash. But in a moment I was sane to know that I had come to a sudden hiding place, and I lay very still, and strove neither to cough nor to breathe. And well for me, I came to so close a hiding, for there were all about me the sounds of monstrous footsteps, running, that seemed to shake the ground, though maybe this to be an imagining bred of my fear. And shoutings of great voices there were, and the thudding of huge feet all about, and the noises of the bushes rustling, but presently the search drew away to the southward, and I perceived that there had surely fought for me some power of good fortune, and I came up out of the hole very cautious, and shaken, and a moment weak with the beating of my heart, yet with a lovely thankfulness for my salvation. And I gat me about, and went swift through the moss bushes to the north and west for 3 hours, and ceased not to run upon my hands and knees. And by that time was I come a great way, and did have a surety in my heart of present safety. I ceased to run, and lay quiet, for, in truth, I did near swoon away with the hardness of my travel. And indeed, as you shall know, I had slept not for 27 hours, and had scarce ceased to labour in all that time. Moreover, I had eat not, neither drunk for 9 hours, and so you shall conceive that I was truly aweary. And presently I did slumber there as I lay, and all abroad to any monstrous thing that should come along. Yet did I wake unharmed, and found by my dial there had gone by a full 10 hours. The while that I did lie there and sleep unwotting, and I was sore perished with the cold of the night, for I had not the warmth of my cloak about me, and my belly was very empty. And I stood me up, and did peer about for any dread matter, but all seemed proper, and I began to stamp my feet against the earth, as that I would drive it from me, and this I do say as a whimsy, and I swung mine arms, as often you shall do in the cold days, and so I was presently something warmed, and I dismantled my cloak, and wrapped it about me, and did feel that the discos was safe to my hip. Then did I sit me down, and did glow a little with relish in that I should now eat 4 of the tablets, for, indeed, these were my proper due, by reason of my shiftless fasting ere I came so wotless to my slumbering. And the memory of that eating doth live with me now, so that I could near to smile, for the eagerness of mine inwards was proper and human. Yet were even 4 tablets but a little matter to so great an emptiness, and I drank a double portion of the water, that I might make less the void, and this thing was seemly, for indeed there were 2 portions due unto me. And when I had eat and drunk, I did fold the cloak once more to shape across my shoulder, as I did carry it, and afterwards I took the discos into my hand, and went forward again to the north and west. Yet, as you shall know, I did pause a little in the beginning, and peer to every side for any close danger, and then did look more abroad of that place, but could nowhere see any matter to have me to immediate fear. And afterwards I looked a little while at the monstrous humped back of the watcher of the northwest, and it did grow to me how steadfast that thing did look towards the mighty pyramid, and this set me to new hatred and horror of the monster, as you shall conceive and believe. And presently I looked beyond the watcher unto the vast mountain of the great redoubt, and I was still seeming close upon it, yet in truth gone a long and weariful distance. But this, you shall understand, was by the greatness and utter height and bulk of that shining mountain of life. And strange and wonderful it was to me to think that even in that one moment it might be that the dear Master Monstruacan did look upon my face through the great spy-glass, and I should not seem utter far to him by reason of the power of the big glass, but to me, as I did look upward through the night, unto the far and utmost light in the upper blackness of the everlasting gloom, it did seem doubly to me that I was afar off and lost forever from mine home. And this thinking did breed in me such a great and lonesome feeling, and a weakness of the heart and spirit, that forthwith I took my courage close unto me, and did turn away quickly, and went onward to the north and west, as I have told. Now I walked for 12 hours, and in that time did eat and drink twice, and made onward again very steadfast, and happy that all did go so quiet with me, so that it was as if I had at last come to a part of the land that was given over to quietness and lacking of monsters. Yet in truth was I come to a worse place than any may be, for as I went forward, striding very strong and making a good speed, I did hear presently a little noise upward in the night, and some ways unto my left, that had seeming as that it were a strange low sound that did come down to me out of a hidden doorway above. For, indeed, though the sound did come from very nigh, as it did seem no more than a score feet above my head, yet was it a noise that did come out of a great and mighty distance, and out of a foreign place. And I did know the sound, though never, as you may suppose, could I have heard it in all my life. Yet had I read in one of the records, and again in a second and third, how that certain of all they that had adventured from the pyramid into the nightlands to seek for knowledge had chanced to hear a queer and improper noise above them in the night. And the noise had been strange, and did come from but a little way upward in the darkness, yet was also from a great and monstrous distance, and did seem to moan and hum quietly, and to have a different sounding from all noises of earth. And in the records it was set forth that these were those same doorways in the night, which were told of in an ancient and half-doubted tale of the world, that was much in favour of the children of the pyramid, and not disdained by certain of our wiser men, and had been thus through all the latter ages. And I did seem to know the sound upon the moment, for my heart grew swift to understand, and it was a very dread, uncomfortable sound, and you shall know how it did seem, if you will conceive of a strange noise that doth happen far away in the country, and the same noise to seem to come to you through an opened door near by. And this is but a poor way to put it. Yet how shall I make the thing more known to you? So that I must even trust unto your wit and true sympathy that you shall conceive of the fullness of my hearing. Now, in the histories of those that had adventured into the nightland, there were but 3 sure records that did concern this sound, and each did tell of a great horror. And of them that did hear the sound, there had died the most part out in the nightland. And the records did make always that they had come upon destruction, and not simply unto death, but were destroyed by a strange and invisible evil power from the night. And of those that came alive unto the pyramid, they had all one strange tale to tell, how that there were secret and horrid doorways in the night. Yet how this thing could be plain to them, who may know truly, save it be that the eyes of their spirit did behold that which was hid to the eyes of the flesh. And there was afterwards writ a proper and careful treatise, and did set out that there did be ruptures of the aether, the which did constitute doorways, as those more fanciful ones did name them. And through these shatterings, which might be likened unto openings, there being no better word to their naming, there did come into this particular condition of life those monstrous forces of evil, that did dominate the night, and which many did hold surely to have been given this improper entrance through the foolish and unwise wisdom of those olden men of learning, that did meddle over far with matters that did reach in the end beyond their understanding. And this thing have I told before, and it doth seem proper unto my belief, for it is always thus, and I have the same taint with me, as must all that have the zest of life. Now, by this that I have set down swiftly, to make a little clear the sure horridness of the sound, you shall know, even with me, the great horror that did come immediately upon my spirit, and I did know that my search was surely like to have an end in the moment, and I bared mine arm, for my teeth, where the capsule did lie below the skin, and was so ready to an instant death if that destruction did come upon me, and in the same moment I did fall silent, inward among the moss bushes, and did begin to creep very quiet toward the right. For as you will mind, I had heard the sound over beyond my left, and all the time as I did creep, there was a great sickness upon me, and it did seem that my mouth had weakened unto water, so that I could scarce hold my teeth tightly from unseemly chattering. And I crept always very silent, and did often stare quick and painful over my shoulder, upwards, and this way and that, but did never see anything, neither could I hear now the sound. And I went this wise for a great hour, and was like to faint through the effort of my care and the soreness of my going. But upon the end of that long while I grew something easier in the spirit, and did perceive that I was saved from the destruction that I had come so dreadful a nigh. And this thing it may be, was because that I did chance to hear it, whilst yet it was beyond, and before I did come right unto it, to pass below. Yet may I be wrong in this thought, and do but make a guessing. But, as I shall here explain, after that time I kept mine ears newly keen unto hearing, and did chide my spirit, for that it had not taken account of that sound a great while earlier. Yet, as I did presently conceive, the spirit had no power to hear that thing, which was very strange, but truly so. Now, because that I went with a very wary hearing, I heard the sound once a far way off before me, and I hid upon the moment, and went backward, and after a while did judge myself to have come unto safety. And so it was, in verity, for I heard no more that time. And so did I come presently unto the 18th hour, and did eat and drink, and made a place of slumber in a little hollow of a rock that stood upward out of the moss bushes. And I slept for 6 hours, and afterwards waked, and was come to no harm. And after I had eat and drunk again, I did look outward over the nightland, and with particularness to that part that I did travel in, as it might be called, the yesterday. And I did observe it to be a very bleak and desolate country, and not given over to fire or other warmth, nor to sulphur vapours, but to be very quiet, and with but a little light in all its breadth. And I could conceive that it was no place for anything of life to desire, but rather to avoid. And the country did seem to be yet all about me, for I was by no means come clear from it at that time, though northward there was a glimmer as of fire-holes, and beyond those the strange shining of the plain of blue fire. And after that I had thought a while, I did believe that I should meet no monster of natural life in all that country of desolation, until I did draw nigh once more unto fire. And I conceived that this sound from out of the invisible doorways might yet trouble me, but whether the quietness of that part was because of all natural life did fear the sound, or because all of natural life did fear the sound, or because that there was neither fire nor warmth, I do not say, having no knowing in this matter, but may yet believe that it was to be laid to both causes, and this doth seem of common reason, as you shall agree. And when I had looked a while unto the mighty pyramid, which was now truly a great way off, for I had walked so many weary hours, I turned me once more to my journeying. And here let me observe that I had gone very far, yet not so distant as might be thought. For oft I did go less than 1 mile in an hour, or maybe 2 hours, having to be of great caution, and oft to hide, and to go upon my belly, or to crawl, as all might be. And further, as you may have perceived, I made not a straightforwardness, but did strike this way and that way, being very intent to escape the monsters and evil forces that were all about. Now, because that I believed that I travelled in a place where was surely to be discovered those strange doorways in the night, I made an especial care of my going, and did stop oft that I might listen and watch and keep a very strict ward in all the night about me. Yet, as you shall see, this served not to prevent me from going forward into the fearfulness of that which did haunt all the void. For, sudden as I went carefully, I heard a faint humming noise come downward from the night a little unto my rear, and the humming noise did grow more plain, as that a door were opened slowly above, and did let out the sound ever more loud. And surely, after I did hear that, I could not doubt that a door were opened upward there, for the noise did grow in such wise as you shall hear a distant sound come through, when a door truly is oped. For if the noise had been made just in that place, it had seemed to come from there. But this sound, though it did come through there, was as that it did come outward, from some far lost and foreign eternity. And this I do struggle always to make plain, and you shall not blame me that I think overmuch upon it. For in truth there was a horror so wondrous and drear about it that I cannot forget it. But do strive always that others should know with me that peculiar woe and terror that did haunt the night. Now, as you will see, I had in truth gone past the place where the doorway in the night did open, yet had come to no harm, but rather it did seem that it opened by chance, unwotting that I was anigh, or it may be that my quiet passing did disturb an evil power, so that it did even come to listen or to make search. And all this doth pass through my brain, as I do write, and it doth seem to me that my thoughts are but the thoughts of a little child, before so great a mystery, and that I touch not even the edge and fringe of the truth with my thinkings, and so do cease upon them, and will but go forward so plain as I may with my telling. Now, as you may truly believe, when I heard that sound, and did understand that I had, in verity, come past beneath that place, I did surely sicken to an utter weakness of body and heart, though it was but for a moment, and then I was swift hid within the close shelter of the low and thick moss bushes. And I shook in all my being, and crept, shaking, upon my hands and knees, and did near totter to my face thrice, so weak gone was I in that moment of terror, and I did have a wickedness of forgetting in that time, for I bared not mine arm to have the capsule to a readiness for my death, if that did need to be, and this was an abominable foolishness, and I do shake now when I think upon it, for death is but a little matter by the side of destruction, though in truth dreadful enough for all. Yet, as it did chance, no harm came to me, and I gat away, as that some wondrous power did cast a viewless cloak about me, so that I might be utter hid. And oft have I wondered whether this was truly so, but have no knowing. And presently I ceased from fleeing, and had some calmness, and did eat and drink, and so came to the comfort of a firm spirit, the which had been sore troubled, above all understanded causes, by that horrid sounding upward in the night. And after that I had eaten and drunk, I did rest a little, but afterward went onward to the northward, going towards that place where the fire holes did glimmer, the same being by this time no great way off. Then, as I did come anigh, I thought to hear once again the sound in the night, and I stopped very swift, and hid into the moss bushes, and did listen, but did hear naught, and so was hopeful of that fancy did play upon me. Yet, because of this matter, I went upon my hands and knees for a good way, and so came at last nigh unto the shine of one of those fire holes, the which I did see for so long. Now, as you shall suppose, I went very cautious through the bushes unto that red shining fire, being careful both that I did attract not any evil force that might listen in the night, and because that there might be some monster nigh to the fire hole. But presently, when I was come so that I could peer through the bushes, I did see a little fire hole set in a small hollow, and there did no thing seem to lurk anigh. And the sight of that warmth did cheer me, for it was long since I did have the comfort of such a matter. And when I had lain a while, that I might watch all about, I saw the place to be safe and quiet, and I went out from the moss bushes and sat down a space from the fire, which did fill the pit in which it did lift and bubble. Which did fill the pit in which it did lift and bubble, and the noise that it sent out was strange and slow, and it did seem to gruntle gently unto itself in that lonesome hollow, as that it had made a long and quiet grumbling there through eternity. And oft was it still, and made no sound, and again would give an odd bubbling in the quietness, and send off, as it did seem, a little smoke of sulphur, and afterwards fall once more upon a quiet. And so I did sit there very hushed and restful, and the loneliness did lie all about me, and the red shine of the fire-hole did glow soft in the hollow, and I was glad to be quiet, for my heart was weary. And there was to my back a little rock that did jut upward so high as a man, and the rock was warm and pleasant to lean upon, and moreover did seem to guard me from behind. And there I ate and drunk and kept very still, for I was gone sudden weary of the heart, as I did say. And this might be because that I did never cease to have destruction over me to companion my way, though, as you will mind, I had been no more than 12 hours afoot, since my last sleeping. Yet I doubt not you do understand. And presently my heart grew strong again within me, and I had a warmth in my spirit, and I got up from the earth, and stretched out mine arms, and I saw that my gear was safe upon me, and afterward did grip the discus, as it were newly. Then I went away from the fire-hole, and climbed the far slope of the hollow, and went northward. And there were before me many of the fire-holes, for I did perceive them to shine in the night for a great way, as it did seem that they were a path of red shinings that led me onward to the northwest of the light of the plain of blue fire. And that is where I have decided to stop for tonight, not least because I am flagging. I don't know. I feel as though when I'm reading these, certainly I think when I'm like out of practice, because obviously I've not been keeping up a consistent schedule for the last, frankly, few months. I find I get really easily distracted, almost in like an intrusive thought kind of way, where I'm almost thinking like, hey, you could do with food, wouldn't it? Oh, look at remember the food that you've got? Like thinking of like the ice cream that I have in the freezer. It's like, oh, you could have that. Yeah, but I'm reading right now. I know you really don't want to be thinking about this right now, do you? No, I'd rather concentrate on the book, thanks. Okay. We're going to think about food though. Like, you know, you've got those like lime and chipotle mini cheddars in your cupboard. Yeah, I do have that. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? It would be lovely right now. Yeah, but I'm trying to read. The brain element's working against me. ADHD vibes. Right. This is kind of why I'm putting this out there, because it's like, who gets this? Who can put a diagnosis on this? Because I feel like I'm up against that from about 3 pages into the reading. And it's the sort of thing, it's the same thing when I've tried meditation, and it's not as a past tense thing, it's a thing that I continue to try and work at, where, you know, empty your mind, let all thoughts go out of your mind, and if a thought approaches you, just let it go. You don't need to be angry about it, you don't need to try and chase it off, just let the thought move on, and carry on having an empty mind. And I will be like, yep, my mind is empty, I'm thinking of nothing. Damn, I'm doing a really good job of thinking of nothing. Hell yeah, my mind is empty, I'm doing so good, I'm entirely aware of how empty my mind is. These are thoughts. I'm now having thoughts. I'm now having to let go of it, and it's like, yeah, I was doing fine, and if I could continue to just be doing fine, I would still be doing fine, but no, my own thoughts about not having thoughts are trying to sabotage me. Every time you try to read something that's not 1000% gripping, yeah, it's like, it is a struggle, and like, honestly, I feel like I am having a little bit of a sugar low, so I'm going to excuse myself and enjoy the pistachio magnum that was slightly reduced in co-op this week. They had an offer on. I was like, yeah, you know what, they're gonna be tiny and disappointing, but they don't live up to the name anymore, but hey, it's going to be full of sugar and it's going to taste good. That's why you hate meditating. You've tried, it's not for you. Since I now seem to be on a kick of certain things, not everything. There's a lot of things that I'm bad at that I would like to get good at, that I struggle to make myself stick at. But I have now a number of things that I'm aware I'm bad at this, and it's going to take a lot of work and effort for me to get better. And some of that is like physical fitness, like rowing, which I'm out of the habit lately. But there was a point at the end of last year and the start of this where I was like, it doesn't even have to be much, but if I just go on the rowing machine for like at least 15 minutes every other day, I'm going to get better, and I'm going to be able to go for longer, and I'm going to feel like this incremental improvement. And again, like actually keeping up that schedule lately has been difficult because I've been like ill and other stuff's been going on. But there's just been a few times now I've like looked at my arms, for instance, and gone like, these ain't guns, right? But there is definitely a bit more muscle here than there used to be, and just seeing that slight incremental benefit is nice. Or some video games, playing a game that is difficult, like he's back on marathon again. Sorry, it's becoming a cornerstone of my personality. Exactly, it's all progress. Like playing marathon and getting just a little bit better at it every time, and sometimes getting better at it, the cause of you getting better at it is getting absolutely smoked by a superior squad and having to stop and learn about what mistakes you made that got you into that position and what you could have done better next time. And likewise with meditation, it's just getting a little bit better about letting those thoughts go, and just actually keeping an empty head, and honestly finding that it does help. Not drastically, but just makes me just feel just a little bit better. And like not currently having like therapy sessions and stuff, but I was doing that, and need to like wait a few more months before I can get back to it. Treating those kinds of things as just treating all of it as like treating it like exercise, or oh damn it, what was my physiotherapy, basically. So treating like sort of therapy sessions as a form of physiotherapy. Like it's gonna feel rough, and not every time it's gonna feel good immediately afterwards, but you will notice those incremental benefits over time. Ray Tracer, thank you very much for the 49 months, and for the unlock. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And so yeah, with all these things, it's important to just keep in mind that each individual one isn't necessarily going to be better than the last, but over time, over a long and gradual time, you will build up those improvements. And I was using a thing on Steam, game, I guess it sort of gamifies meditation. It's called Plane, Playne, and it's like a sort of meditation app. And really all it does is just gives you like little achievements to unlock. Like I say, it gamifies it, and like you have a little serene island that you kind of build out by continual meditation, and it just sort of gives you some advice and stuff, and some soothing like nature sounds to listen to whilst doing it, and it's pretty nice. That sort of helped get me started, and yeah, that's where I sort of started trying it, and I was like, you know what, I don't think I'm very good at this. But when I'm not actively falling asleep whilst doing it, it does seem to like help me feel a little bit better. So I guess I'm going to stick with it. But bringing it back all the way around to the opening point, meditation and ADHD brain do feel like they are like actively in conflict with each other. Which I suppose again is where it's something that I feel like, hey, this should go in the pile of things that I stick with and try to get better at, because hey, if it does actually help bring some sort of, I don't know, like order or quiet to the brain, then that's good. But yeah, I'm gonna go and find something to snack on because I'm really hungry. So thank you for listening, thank you for being here, thank you, move the mic close again, I might have been quiet. Thank you for being the wonderful, lovely audience that you are. I rattle it off quickly, but I don't say it lightly. Oh, thank you. It's still nice that people turn out to hear that. And yeah, have yourselves a good evening, good rest of the weekend, however much is left to you. I don't know what the schedule's going to be for next week. Probably nothing from Lucy, I don't know, and probably maybe nothing from me, but I can't say why. Because of spoilers. Like, spoilers basically for Lucy that she doesn't know about and we're not telling her. But I'm not saying more. But I don't want to just be like, hey, there's no stream next week, you don't get a reason. I like to give reasons, but I can't give a reason. So, yeah. It's her birthday next week. So, I'm going to go. And don't say anything. I'm, like, trying to keep stuff quiet. But you'll probably find out about it later. Exactly. I can't say. No one will keep your mouth shut. Yeah, I'm going to go. Thank you all for being here. Look after yourselves and the people around you, and as much as you are able, when you're able, vote for politicians who are good and cool people and not jerks that are just going to blame, like, minorities and people whose lives are already hard and try and make them worse. There we go. Just sorry, made it heavy at the end, but that's, hey, I was talking about having anxiety this week, and that's why I'm gonna go. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye. Have a good weekend.